At his retirement party, he tried to humiliate me. I made sure his legacy died with the applause. Also, please subscribe to this channel for more stories. Everyone stood for my father that night. A standing ovation, cheers, flashes from phones, the clinking of wine glasses as hundreds of people celebrated the end of his 42-year reign as headmaster of Fairbridge College. Everyone loved Charles Maddox. The visionary, the builder, the man who turned a struggling private school into an elite institution that churned out senators, CEOs, Pulitzer winners. They called him the architect of excellence. I called him Dad, but never father, never mentor, never friend. Not since the day I saw what he really thought of me. That night, the night of his retirement, I was 33, sitting at a round table near the back, drinking the same bitter champagne that had been served at every Fairbridge gala since I was 12. I was a footnote in the room, a polite inclusion. He hadn't mentioned me once during his introductory interviews, his magazine features, his farewell editorial. I was the only blood relative in attendance. But to Charles Maddox, I had always been a loose thread on the suit he wore too tightly, his legacy. I remember the lights dimming. My father took the stage with the control of a man who'd spent his whole life there. Silver-haired, confident, still somehow towering at 6'3". Behind him, a slideshow flickered with old school photos, newspaper clippings, quotes from former students. Music swelled. Then the applause faded, and his voice took the room. "Thank you," he said. "From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Tonight is the celebration of something bigger than any one man. But allow me, just once, to speak personally." He adjusted his glasses. "I raised this institution like a second family, and like any father, I knew not all my children would thrive." The audience chuckled warmly. I sipped my drink. "There were those who rose to meet the challenge," he continued, "and those who fell short, sometimes tragically so." I froze. Take, for example, my own son. All heads turned to me. My heart stopped. He smiled gently like he was delivering a lesson, not an insult. Evan was always more interested in music, poetry, philosophy, those things which, while charming, rarely shape nations. He lacked discipline, direction. He didn't graduate from Fairbridge. He dropped out. The laughter this time wasn't warm. It was sharp. "He's a substitute teacher now, I believe. Teaches community classes in Newark. A good man, I'm sure. But we all have choices. Some chase greatness. Some watch from the bleachers." My cheeks burned. My nails dug into my palm. "But we love them anyway," he said with a mock tenderness that barely concealed his sneer. "Even the ones who turn away from our example." Polite applause. I stood up. I walked out. No one stopped me. Outside, I walked to my car. My hands shook. I couldn't breathe. I sat behind the wheel for a long time, staring at the rain spattering the windshield. And I thought about the folder in my trunk. The one with the letters. The bank transfers. The affidavits. The things he thought I never saw. 6 months earlier, I had begun writing a book. Not just about my father, but about Fairbridge, the school, its culture, its dark underbelly. I'd stumbled across something I wasn't supposed to find while researching alumni donors for a grant-writing job I'd taken during COVID. A curious discrepancy in the school's endowment led me to an even bigger trail, one I wasn't looking for. It started with tuition funneling, then off-the-books payments, illegal admissions recommendations, falsified transcripts, fake scholarships masking hush-money deals with certain families. It went back decades. And it all traced to one name, Charles Maddox. I hadn't planned to expose him. Not at first. I just wanted answers. But once I saw the scope, and the cover-ups, I couldn't unsee it. What kind of man builds a kingdom on stolen bricks? I reached out to a journalist, Amelia Tran, investigative, independent, and brutal. We met in a bookstore cafe. I gave her everything. She verified the documents, one by one. "I don't want your name attached to it," I told her. She stared at me. "Why?" she asked. I hesitated. "Because he's still my dad." She paused, then said, "He won't be after this." After the gala, I went home and sat in silence. 2 days later, Amelia published the first part of the exposé. The Maddox Method, behind the curtain of Fairbridge's academic empire. It didn't just trend, it detonated. By the end of the week, it was national. They found emails, payment trails, recorded calls, the legacy admissions programs that secretly guaranteed spots for wealthy but underqualified students, many of whom were now public figures. There were quiet settlements, donations rescinded, investigations opened, and still no word from my father. Until a letter arrived at my door. No return address. Inside, a single line. "What have you done?" No anger, no apology, just disbelief. like I had broken his world, not the other way around. I didn't reply. Months passed. Fairbridge removed his name from 3 buildings. He lost his honorary seat on the education board. The publisher canceled his memoir. He'd made sure I had no place in his legacy. So I gave him what he gave me, erasure. One day I got a call. From my mother. He had a stroke, she said. He's in the hospital. He wants to see you. I hesitated. For a long time. And then I went. He looked smaller, frail. The man who had once towered over me in judgment now barely lifted his hand. His voice was soft, almost childlike. You ruined me, he said. I sat quietly. You could have come to me. I met his eyes. Would you have listened? He didn't answer. I didn't ruin you, I said. You did. I just told the truth. Silence. Then he whispered, was I really that bad? I wanted to scream, to stand and list every moment he broke me and called it guidance, every time he mistook cruelty for character. But instead I said, I spent my whole life trying to be your son. Turns out I was better off being myself. He didn't cry. He didn't apologize. He just looked out the window. He died 3 weeks later. No headlines this time. No applause. Just a short obituary written by a former assistant. I didn't speak at the funeral, but I watched from the back. And when they lowered the casket into the ground, I didn't cry. Because for the first time in my life, I was free. Now, when people ask me who Charles Maddox was, I tell them, a complicated man. And when they ask me who I am, I tell them, I'm the one who lived to write the ending.